So, it's been a little while since I've uploaded anything to the channel, and I do apologize. From the beginning of the holidays up until about now, things have been a little bit on the chaotic side, and for the next few weeks, they will probably continue to be a little more chaotic, but I do promise to be a little more consistent with my uploads going forward. For those who have not been introduced to my channel yet, my name is Michael Kornblum, and this is the Linux Lifestyle, which is going to be about Linux and open source software, and basically all related subjects. Um, I really don't have a lot I can share with you at the moment, except that about a month ago, I changed my production environment from one that was based on an Ubuntu based distribution to something that was Arch based. The rationale I did that for doing that is I've been working with Linux and open source software for about 15 years now, and truth been told, I wanted to try something new, and I kind of got influenced by a couple of other tech YouTubers and decided to teach Arch for a spin. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about some of the observations I made while making the switch from Ubuntu to Arch, some of the differences, and whether or not I would personally recommend it to you. First off, Arch installations versus Ubuntu installations. Well, with Ubuntu, you're basically downloading the ISO image. You're flashing it to a USB stick. You're booting from that USB stick into a graphical installer, following a few steps in about 15 to 20 minutes. Next thing you know, you have a fully operational operating system on your PC. With Arch, that's not so much the case. With an Arch install, you are basically, you still have to, download the ISO and make a bootable disk image onto the USB stick, but you're pretty much dumped onto a command prompt, and you're pretty much left to your own devices to basically build your own OS from the ground up. Now, there are plenty of great online resources to do this. The one that most commonly is mentioned is the Arch Wiki, but I found that a little bit too difficult for me, so ultimately I found myself basically going on YouTube and looking at other tech YouTubers and seeing how they basically did their own installations. So I'm going to give my thanks to both DT, Derek Taylor of DistroTube, and Armando Ferrari from EF Linux, who both had some really excellent tutorials. And if there wasn't for their help, I probably would have had to use a simpler way of going about installing Arch, like Arco Linux or Endeavor OS or Rebirth OS or one of the other derivatives, Manjaro. You get the idea. Another difference between Ubuntu and Arch. Ubuntu is what is commonly referred to as a static release. Okay, when a new version of Ubuntu is released, it is released with its own desktop and a set of applications that are basically curated to work specifically with that distro. The only time you're really going to be seeing updates in an Ubuntu-based distribution are if they're security updates or bug fixes. You're not going to see a lot of jumps from one version of software to the next within the confines of a specific release. Okay, on the other hand, with Arch, basically as soon as that updated software is made available, you can update to it. Okay? This is commonly referred to as a rolling release model, and depending on how you handle these updates will dictate the stability of your Arch installation. Whereas with Ubuntu, that's all pretty much taken care of. The third thing I'm going to look at is the intended audiences. Okay, with Ubuntu is built specifically for technical professionals who need a stable environment in order to effectively do their job, whether it be system administration, DevOps, developer. Whereas Arch is more made for learners, people who want to learn about what goes into a distribution and to learn about the differences in free and open source software. The passion for looking under the hood and going deeper than the average consumer has to be there in order for you to effectively get the most out of an Arch-based distro. Now, with all these things being said, what would I recommend for a beginner? I would say Ubuntu. Okay, bear in mind this channel is very much geared towards beginners. So we're going to go easy. We're going to teach you a little bit about command line. We'll teach you a little bit about open source software. We'll talk to you a little bit about what applications do we get and get you that experience. And if you're interested in moving beyond that, then yes, I fully recommend an Arch distro, but I'll be honest, give it a couple years, okay? There is a lot to dive into with these static releases, and a lot to explore. And, I myself have not grown bored with Ubuntu or Debian. I was just curious to see what the other side had to offer. Okay, so yeah, definitely. If you're a beginner and you're just getting used to this whole thing, stick with the Ubuntu-based distributions. That means Ubuntu's great. Linux Mint. Trying to remember the Elementary OS. Those type of distros are the ones ultimately you're going to want to look at. If you want to look at different desktop environments, I could recommend something like KDE Neon, which is the one that, if was up until my migration to Arch, was what I was using. Anyway, that's all I got for you for today. We're going to be, going forward, we're going to be looking a little more at, customizing Ubuntu-based installations, because quite literally everybody and their dog right now are on the Arch train, myself included. But, I want you to basically feel comfortable before, you start digging in any deeper. So the next one we're going to probably talk about is how I customize a stock Ubuntu installation. Anyway, my name is Mike. This is the Linux Lifestyle. Be safe, be great, be awesome, and good night.